Hey, it's Russ, welcome to GFN Gaming. Today we're going to be playing some Age of Sigmar Warcry, and it's going to be a 1000 points battle from the core book between the Khainite Shadowstalkers and the Scions of the Flame. Here's the board we're going to play on today, and the card we rolled for the deployment is Standoff. So you can see the shield and hammers are deployed, and then in round 2 the daggers come on. The twist card we have is Eerie Silence, which is basically no effect. And the mission card we drew today is Scorched Earth. The players roll off and the winner chooses who is the attacker and who is the defender. The defender gets to place 3 objectives on the battlefield, and points are scored at the end of each battle round, the attacker gaining 3 victory points for each objective they control, and the defender scoring 1 victory point for each objective that they control. At the end of each battle round, the defender can then choose to remove 1 objective from play, and the game length is 3 battle rounds. Let's look at the teams now, starting with the Scions of the Flame. The Scions of the Flame have been split into their 3 respective teams, so we're going to start with the dagger. In my dagger I have the Immolator and I have the Blazing Champion. It's a shame in this mission that the dagger comes on in turn 2, so we're going to have to wait a while before they'll get any combat. Making up the bulk of the team for the shield, I have the Blazing Lord, the Priest and the 2 Initiates. And lastly, making up the hammer, I have both of my Fireborn. And that's the Scions of the Flame team, relatively slow moving for an objectives-based mission. We'll have to see how they do. But first we will turn our attention to the Khainite Shadowstalkers, slinking out of the shadows to try and snuff out the flames of the Scions. Looking at the dagger first, and I have the Slaughterblade and the 2 Dark Flame Warlocks. Going with the whip for the Slaughterblade and the crossbows for the Dark Flame Warlocks. The Shroud Queen is back with her retinue. We have 3 Shroud Blades, 2 with Umbral Spears and 1 with Cursed Swords. And finally that just leaves the hammer, which is comprised of 2 Shroud Blades, both with Cursed Swords. Khainite Shadowstalkers won the role for the mission and have chosen to be the defenders. Moving on now to the priority role. Scions of the Flame get a 1, and the Khainite Shadowstalkers get a 5, so they will have priority. So let's move on to the deployment, starting with the Khainite Shadowstalkers. With such a slow moving team as the Scions and the game only going to battle round 3, it's going to be full guns blazing for the Scions to even have a chance in this match. Due to the deployment zones, it seems like the Scions are going to have to rush for the central objective and objective 3. Here's a quick recap after the deployment phase of where everything ended up. And with deployment done now, we move on to turn 1. Turn 1 hero phase, and it's time for the initiative roll. Shadowstalkers get a double 2 and 4 singles. And the Scions get a treble 6 and 3 singles. Starting with the Shadowstalkers, and they're going to use their wild dice to make a treble, and the Scions are going to use theirs to get a double 4. And here's just a quick recap of the dice pools for both teams. Scions have a treble 6 and a double 4, and the Shadowstalkers have a treble 2. An eerie silence spreads across the battlefield as the 2 opposing forces face off against each other. Starting with the Shadowstalkers initiative, and the Shroud Blade is just going to move onto objective 1 and then wait. Fireborn on the far right is going to move and then move again, heading towards objective 3. The Shroud Blade is going to follow her sister and move on to objective 1 and wait. The Scions of the Flame are going to use their double 4 for the universal action Rush to get a +1 to the move characteristic, and then the Fireborn's going to move towards objective 3. The Shroud Blade with Cursed Swords is going to move towards objective 3 just to make sure they've got at least 1 body on that objective, because currently the Scions of Flame hold it. Second action will be to wait. Scions of the Flame Initiate is going to move forward, checking to see if he's in range of the firebombs, but he's not, so we're going to move forward and going to take the stairs. Looks like he's getting a bit too close to the Shroud Queen though. Shroud Blade with Umbral Spears is just going to clamber up this building, claiming objective 2. His second action is just going to be to wait. The Scions of the Flames initiate here is going to move, jumping across this bridge and moving towards both objectives 1 and 2. The Shroud Queen now will strike. She's going to move towards the initiate and also within range of objective 3, denying it for the Scions of the Flame. And then she's going to attack. Shadowstalkers are also going to use their treble 2 as a double to get Onslaught for an extra attack in combat. This will bump up the Shroud Queen from 4 attacks to 5 attacks. Strength 4, Toughness 3, so this is going to be wounding on 3s. That's 4 wounds but no criticals, so it's 2 damage apiece, so that's 8 wounds taken off. The Inferno Priest is now going to move towards the fray. Just out of range for the one on objective 2, but well within for the Shroud Queen, so we're going to attack her. The Scions are going to use their triple as a double for Onslaught to get 1 extra attack. I've since read the FAQ, which amends it to be only attacks within 3 inches, but we're going to have to go along with it for now. As it happens, they all fail to wound anyway. Shroud Blade with the other Umbral Spear is just going to clamber up this wall to secure objective 2. The Blazing Lord now is going to move, heading towards objectives 1 and 2. And that's the end of the first turn. Let's have a quick look at the scores. The Khainite Shadowstalkers hold objectives 1 and 2, netting them 2 victory points. With 2 bodies apiece on objective 3 though, no one gets any points for that one. And because they're evil, the Shadowstalkers are going to then take away objective 3. Moving on to turn 2. Turn 2 hero phase, and we'll start with the initiative rolls. Scions get 2 doubles and 2 singles, and the Khainite Shadowstalkers also get 2 doubles and 2 singles. Don't catch it on film, but the Shadowstalkers win the roll, so they get to pick first, and they're going to go for another initiative die. And the Scions go for another double. Just to recap the dice, we've got the Scions have a double 6, double 5 and a double 2, and the Shadowstalkers have a double 5 and a double 1. It's round 2 now in the standoff deployment, and that means the daggers are coming in, starting with the Shadowstalkers. With this deployment and the fact that the Khainite Shadowstalkers got to remove objective 3, this means that these Scions of the Flames dagger are just way out of position now. So that's the daggers set up in the reserve phase, and now we're going to move on to the combat phase, starting with the Shadowstalkers. Starting with the Shroud Queen attacking the initiate. 3 wounds going through, so that's 6 damage. And that's first blood to the Shroud Queen. For her second action, she's just going to move and she's going to back off towards objective 2. Blazing Lord's now going to make a play for objective 1, and he's going to scramble down this wall and attack the Shroud Blade. The Scions are also going to use their double 2 for Onslaught, giving the Blazing Lord an additional attack. 5 attacks now, needing 3s. Bit of a shocking roll, that's only 4 damage. Responding in kind, the Shadowstalkers are going to use their double 1 for Onslaught themselves, and this Shroud Blade with Umbral Spear is going to move and attack the Initiate. This will be 4 attacks now, needing 3s. And that's a crit and 2 hits, so that's going to be 6 damage, bringing them down to 4 wounds left. The Inferno Priest is going to move so that he can get the Shroud Blade on objective 1 in range, and then we're going to use Onslaught again by mistake to get an extra attack and then fire their ranged attack. And because obviously using Onslaught incorrectly is a curse, she fails to wound them anyway. Dark Flame Warlock is just going to move and then shoot at the Inferno Priest. Looking for 5s and 6s, accidentally count to 4, so it's 5 wounds off in total. Shadowstalkers are then going to pop their final double for Cursed Darts, and they're going to fire again at the Inferno Priest, so 2 dice, looking for a 4 up for 2 additional wounds. Gets 1, so that's a further 2 wounds off the Inferno Priest. Really needing to hoof it up the board now, the Scions of the Flame are going to use their last double for Rush, and they're going to send their Fireborn moving towards objective 2, and into combat with the Shroud Queen. The second Dark Flame Warlock is just going to move, check range, but he's just out and then just going to move again. Fireborn's going to move into combat with a Shroud Blade with Cursed Swords and attack. Could take her out with a lucky roll, it's going to be 4 attacks wounding on 3s. And that's a hit and a crit, which is going to be 6 damage, so it's going to leave the Shroud Blade with just 2 wounds left. Too far away for the Slaughter Blade to be useful this turn, so they're just going to move towards the action. Scion's turn now, and the Initiate is going to attack the Shroud Blade with Umbral Spear. Gets 2 wounds, and that's 2 damage, so she's going to attack again. 2 wounds and a crit this time, that's going to be 5 damage, leaving the Shroud Blade with just 1 left. Shroud Blade here is just going to pile into the Blazing Lord and attack with his Cursed Swords. 3 attacks needing 5s and 6s. And that's a hit and a crit, so that's 5 damage, taking the Blazing Lord down to 15. Out in the middle of nowhere, the Immolator is going to move. Shroud Blade on objective 2 is going to scramble down the side of the wall and attack the Fireborn in the back. What a dick. 3 attacks, wounding on 4s. Gets the 1, but that's just 1 damage, bringing the Fireborn down to 9 wounds total. Blazing Champion's going to move, and the Shroud Blade's going to attack the Fireborn. 2 hits which are both crits, so it's down to 2 wounds left, going to attack again, roll 1 less dice by mistake, and they fail to wound. The Shroud Blade is going to attack the Blazing Lord. But instead, he's just going to make sure that he's up to date with his correspondence, that kind of stuff. Life admin. The end of turn 2 now, and the Khainite Stalkers again hold objectives 2 and 1 for an additional 2 victory points, bringing their total to 4. The Scions have still yet to score, and at the end of the turn, the Shadowstalkers take away objective 2. So, with a primary school level of education, you're probably able to determine at this point that the Shadowstalkers have won. We're going to keep playing the last battle turn just to see if there's a moral victory in there. Scions have a treble and 3 singles, and the Shadowstalkers have 2 doubles and 2 singles. Scions are going to use their wild dice to get a quad, and the Shadowstalkers are going to get another double. So the Scions have a quad 1, and the Shadowstalkers have a double 6, a double 4, and a double 3. The Inferno Priest is going to move within 1 inch of the Shroud Blade and within 3 inches of the Slaughter Blade. The Inferno Priest is then going to use their normal melee attack against the Shroud Blade, which is going to be 3 attacks at strength 4, so it's going to be wounding on 3s. The curse is lifted, that is 2 crits and a hit, which means it's going to be 10 damage. With the Shroud Blade taken care of, the Inferno Priest is now going to use the ability Engulf in Flames, using the quad 1 and target the Slaughter Blade. So this is going to be 6 dice on a 2-up, it's going to do 1 damage, and any 6s I get to roll additional dice. 6 wounds so far with 2 extra, and they're both wounds, so that's 8 wounds in total, leaving the Slaughter Blade with 4 remaining. Looking to take out the Inferno Priest so the Slaughter Blade has access to the objective, the Warlock's going to fire his crossbows. Gets 2 wounds, but it's going to fire again. Gets a wound, but it's only 1 damage, so we're going to use the double 3 and use Curse Darts to attack again. Looking for 4-ups, and we get 1, so that's an additional 2 damage, leaving the Inferno Priest with just 3 wounds remaining. Looking to chip that last wound away, the Initiate is going to go into the Shroud Blade. Gets 2 wounds, so that's 2 damage, so the Shroud Blade is taken out of action. The Initiate is then going to move, using the rest of their action to get within 3 inches of objective 3, but she's not going to climb down or drop. Second chance for the Dark Flame Warlocks to take out the Inferno Priest is going to be a move and a shoot action. This is going to be 4 attacks with the repeating crossbows, looking for 5s and 6s. Gets a 6, which is a critical, which is exactly what he needs, so that's 3 wounds and the Inferno Priest is taken out. Starting too far away to have any involvement in the battle, the Blazing Champion is just going to move and lock the Shroud Queen in combat. Slaughter Blade now is going to move on objective 1 and within range of their whip of the Initiate on the rooftops. She's then going to attack with said whip, getting 2 wounds, which is just enough to take the Initiate down to 0 wounds. With the Initiate down, that means the Shadowstalkers now completely hold objective 1 again. Immolator can just make it into combat with his Dark Shroud with Umbral Spear, so that's what he's going to do. And then he's going to attack. Needing 3s, and that's a terrible roll. I'm starting to think this is just a guy that's on fire as opposed to wielding it. Shroud Blade now is just going to attack the Fireborn. Gets 1 hit, which is 1 damage, and she's just going to attack again. And she's obviously distracted by the large man that seems to be on fire next to her, and she misses all 3. Blazing Lord now is going to try and take out one of the Dark Shrouds. Gets 3 wounds, which is enough to take the Dark Shroud to -2 and out of action. The Blazing Lord's then going to move onto Objective 1, because that's what we do here. We make dreams come true. Moving on to the Shroud Queen now, and she's going to attack into the Fireborn. This is going to be 4 attacks, wounding on 4s. Just the 1 wound, so she's going to attack again. 2 wounds and a crit is enough to take the Fireborn out of action. After taking out the Fireborn, she's then going to turn and look at the Brazen Champ and say, haha, you did nothing this game. Cuts like a knife. Fireborn now attacking the Shroud Blade. Just gets the 1, but it is a critical and it's enough to take the Shroud Blade out of action. And then the Fireborn's just going to move forward into that combat. And that is officially the end of the game now. No one holds Objective 1, but the defenders, the Khainite Shadowstalkers, already have 4 victory points. There was no way for the Scions to get back in it. Shadowstalkers victory. And if you've made it this far, thank you so much. Please like and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you in the next video.